Hey guys, Ryan here from Indy Wrestling School, and today we're talking about what happens when your main attraction can't make the show, and you find out 5 hours before the show starts. This happened to me recently, coming up. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing below. We put out new videos every single Thursday. So what the hell do you do when your main attraction, your name on the show, can't make the show? What happens? What's the whole process? Now let me explain to you. I said about 5 hours, but honestly that's when we found the replacement. So this actually happened earlier that day. So typically, I will leave my house for the show around 10 o'clock. I'll get near the building around 11, and then actually get into the building around 1 o'clock on the day of a show. At 6:30, I would say, my phone was ringing the day of the show, and my buddy Vin had called me to let me know that Ricky Morton was stuck at the airport. Ricky Morton was the headliner for our event. I personally was super excited to get to work with him. I only had been on one show with him before, and it technically wasn't my show. It was a show I was working with Steve Carino on, so I was just helping out with music and stuff like that. So this was the first time I was going to be able to book him, and I was super excited about it. 6:30 in the morning, I get the call from Vin saying he's at the airport, and basically he has two flights, right? He has a flight to, I forget where, maybe Charlotte, and then from Charlotte to Philadelphia or Newark, something like that. So he was able to get to Charlotte, but they had informed him before he took that flight that, hey, once you're in Charlotte, there's nothing we can do for you. We can't get you to Newark. So I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. So let me get on the computer here, looking for flights. Couldn't find anything from Charlotte to Newark. Couldn't find anything from Charlotte to Philadelphia. So I'm looking for Charlotte to Atlantic City, Charlotte to Trenton, Charlotte to LaGuardia, Charlotte to JFK. Nothing. The only flights that would get him there around 9:30, and the event would be well over. So I did find one flight that would get him leaving at Charlotte at 10:30. Unfortunately, there was no flights from where he was in Tennessee to Charlotte that would get him to Charlotte until 11. So there was literally no way, and we spent maybe an hour and a half trying to get on with different flights and everything else. At one point I had a flight booked, and that was the one that he wouldn't get to the second destination in time. So I ended up spending more money on something that wasn't going to work, and I had to fight the airlines to get my money back. This is not a video of why something went wrong. This is about what you do in that situation. For this particular event, it was the 25th anniversary of the Super 8 tournament. This is a tournament I read about in the magazines growing up. It was always a big deal. I was always a big tournament guy. Huge fan of tournaments growing up. I mean, I would just write tournaments all the time for my action figures and stuff like that. I've always loved pro wrestling tournaments. I mean, starting with the King of the Ring for me, and then years later reading about the Super 8, I've always loved them. So the 25th anniversary, we wanted to do something special. We had Ricky Morton coming in as kind of the big name and stuff like that. And unfortunately, when that fell through, now you're thinking, well, what can we do? I could get an indie talent who's, a really good worker. Unfortunately, a really good worker and Ricky Morton, I mean, they're just two different ballparks, right? So I was trying to think of, what legend could replace Ricky Morton, and Jerry Lawler was actually going to be in the area. And for me, Jerry Lawler's a guy I've been trying to work with for years. Unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out, and we weren't going to be able to work with Lawler either. So I began to think story. And, when you lay it all out, when you look at the Super 8 tournament, the guy who was in the first 2 or 3 of them was Devin Storm, who wrestled in WCW for as Crowbar. And I saw that he was there, and he was starting to take bookings again. And he had been with ECWA in the early years during Jim Kettner's run. So we reached out to him, and he was able to get there with 3 hours notice. Luckily he's local to Jersey, so he was able to make it there. So what ended up happening was we had a guy competing in the 25th annual Super 8 who was in the first 3 tournaments. The guy who was in the very first tournament is competing in the 25th annual, which is really cool. And not just that, he over-delivered. I mean, he came there, he had a great match, and I'm certain that Ricky Morton also would have had a great match. But for a story, I don't think you could write a better story than something like that. You know, somebody who competes in the first one, now competing in the 25th annual, and doing a hell of a job, telling a great story. You know, he got on the mic and did some stuff with Mr. Ooh La La, somebody he was up and down the roads with, you know, early in his career. He was able to be there for his big moment that night when he won the ECWA title. And overall, the entire show just had this really great payoff, and it really worked out. But that's what we did in this scenario where, you know, you can't get a replacement that's going to be better than what you had, and you focus on the story. The story is what saved the show. And oftentimes that's the case in pro wrestling. It's not always about a 5-star match or, you know, the coolest entrance or the best outfit. It's about the story and the emotions that you can create on that night. And by all accounts and everything I saw, everybody loved this show, and it was a tremendous success for us. And we can't thank Crowbar enough for being there last minute like that. He just over-delivered, and I can't wait to work with Ricky Morton in the future. Unfortunately, he tried everything he could. I mean, he was sitting in the airport for hours while we were trying to work this out. He was super professional, and he just wanted to make it clear, hey, I am not bailing on you guys. I'm here. Whatever you need me to do, wherever you need me to get to, I'll get there. And he made every effort, and we made every effort to get him there. It just couldn't line up. So hopefully in the near future I'm able to work with Ricky Morton, but in the meantime, being able to work with Crowbar on such a big show and have it work out so well is something I'll remember for the rest of my life. If you guys didn't have the chance, please check out that video. It's live on independentwrestling.tv. You can check out that show. It's the Super 8 tournament. You can look for it. It's right from 2021. It took place on May 1st, so check that out and let me know what you thought of the show. It was a really fun show. It was during the COVID times. We're still going strong there, so we had limited capacity. We could only have a certain amount of people there, but even with all those restrictions, I think everybody had a great time, and it was a great show for everybody. If you can check it out, let me know what you thought of the show in the comments below. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please beat the shit out of the like button, and I'll see you next week right here on Indy Wrestling School every Thursday.